Well, my name is Pierre, and I trained in Japan as a swordsmith for 5.5 years, traditional Japanese swordsmithing. Basically, I spent about 10 years in Japan living there and then training as a swordsmith. And I came back to Canada and I just built my smithy where I'm about to start practicing here. In Japan, traditional apprenticeship is done as it was hundreds of years ago. Basically, the apprentice is accepted under a master, and there's no teaching per se. There is no program whatsoever. You basically go there and you join the craftsman in his daily routines, which is whatever he has to do at a given time. So you go there every day, or you traditionally live with the master. I lived next door, but you go there every day. And in the beginning, you just start by cleaning around and you observe a lot. You have to learn the culture. You have to learn his habits, where the tools go, what he does, in what order. And slowly, when you get to understand what needs to be done around, then you're given tasks to do a little bit of time, and then you as you become better, as you show that you've assimilated techniques and knowledge, you're given more responsibilities, and at some point you could be running the shop by yourself. It happens quite a lot when the masters get older. Being a Westerner, I like to understand things, but one thing that is put forward in Japan is you should never try to understand with your head. So when you enter apprenticeship and you start asking questions and try to show that you understand something, or explain theories, or ask details of how things work, basically you get no answer. They just ignore you. And if you're too obnoxious, they will actually tell you to just shut up and observe and play your part. And at some point you understand that it's kind of pointless to understand something if you're not actually learning it while doing it by experience. There's a big difference between understanding something and knowing something by experience. And basically all of Japanese culture is based on this. What I came to realize is that this is something that's being done throughout the world. It's not Japanese per se, but every traditional craftsmanship culture works this way. The only idea I had behind this to justify myself going into that is that I like the outcome of that process. Basically, the craftsman that's born throughout this kind of apprenticeship. I like that. I want to be that. And I like the products they make. I don't see any other process where identical or similar outcome exists. So basically, to get this result, I had to go through this process. And I thought, whether I like it or not, whether I approve or agree or disagree with the process, I cannot criticize it because I approve and praise the result. So I should just, be patient and go through the process, whatever it takes, and then I will get the result at the end. So that's the only reflection I did, so that I could justify myself into going into the process and doing the whole thing. And so that gave me a little bit more patience and open-mindedness to, whatever happens, I'll just do it. I don't care, So I wasn't thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I not doing that? I should be doing this, And this is what actually saved me. And this is what the Japanese are taught, actually. They're not taught to be patient. They're actually taught to just be open and follow their seniors and trust them. Trust in the people above them, and trust in the community that takes care of them. And this is what gives them the strength to go through something that can be very ego-crushing, Traditional learning in Japan is very, very, it's a process that crushes the ego, and you really have to be just open to do whatever you're being told to do. Now that I know that I've done it, shouldn't we have a textbook to help throughout the apprenticeship and have a plan that helps us progress better throughout the apprenticeship? I don't think so. I really would like to say yes, because I know it simplifies everything. With a scientific mind, we like to organize knowledge and put it in what I call little boxes so that you can distribute the boxes at will. And then people can just take this knowledge and go and do their own thing with it. But unfortunately, the human mind doesn't work like this. So to fully and deeply understand something, you have to do it with your whole body. You have to feel you have to feel it with your six senses per se. I don't know if there's a sixth sense, but you really have to feel the full whole experience to be able to fully understand what is happening. And every traditional ancient culture, I think, works like this. This is how they transfer knowledge. And this is what I like to say, this is what we're losing actually right now, because we prefer to organize knowledge in boxes and distribute it because it's more efficient. We think it's more efficient. But the Japanese kept that. This is one thing they did well, is that they kept this means of knowledge transfer. The Westerners have been trying to understand and explain Japan the way they try to put knowledge in boxes. It's always the same thing. We try to analyze and understand things. And so they've been trying to understand and analyze Japan since it's open to the West in the late 1800s. So a lot of people wrote about Japan and tried to explain Japanese culture a lot in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And so we have these concepts that explain Japanese cultures, like Bushido, for example, the way of the warrior. And one of them in management is Shuhari, or in apprenticeship, Shuhari. It's the steps, the three phases, the three stages to learning in Japan. The Japanese don't really know about this concept because it's a very Western approach to trying to understand and categorize and organize knowledge, something they don't do in Japan. Only a handful of people, of Japanese people or Westerners interested in Japan did. So this knowledge, these concepts, these ideas exist. But it's important to know that it's very Western. But still, it doesn't matter, it's not true. Shuhari does exist in Japan, and it happens. It's just that they don't do it consciously. So the idea behind Shuhari is that it's the phases to learning. And it's, for example, Shu is mimicking, monkeying, as I like to say, the master. So you have a model, a role model. It could be whatever in your business, in the business, or in the smithy with the blacksmith. There's a role model, and you basically, what you're asked to do is to simply mimic him. You don't ask questions. You don't question yourself. He raised the left hand. You raise the left hand. You just mimic him until this becomes natural for you. This is the first phase. The second phase is that it becomes natural. So it's like the black belt in martial arts. So black belt is going beyond Shu. That's basically what it is. So in Japan, martial arts starts at the black belt. So until the black belt, it's you mimicking and just learning the techniques and making them your own. But when you're a black belt, you're considered to have assimilated. So the techniques are natural for you now. You don't have to think about the technique, and now you can use the technique to do something else with them. And this is this is Ha actually. And Ri is breaking from the tradition. So you're basically using all this knowledge, profound knowledge that you have, and you break away from the tradition and you reinvent your own tradition. So this is when you improve. However, the important thing is to understand that Shu, Ha, and Ri are not distinct phases in a lifetime. This is something that happens, it's constantly intermingling. So you might be doing Shu for 5 years, and then you do a little bit of Ha, and then you redo a little Shu while you're doing Ha, and then you're going back and forth, and it all mixes together. And then at some point in your life, you do Ri a little bit, but then you're still doing Shu also for other things. And then, so it's very organic, it's very chaotic, it's not linear at all. I really like this idea of using the word kata. I think it's the latest in one of these Western efforts to try to explain Japanese culture. It's the Shu part of learning. It has to do basically with mimicking and just copying a role model until you make it your own. And I've heard this expression which says fake it until you feel it. And I really like this idea that you can, if you don't agree or you don't understand something, you can still do it. Basically just accept to do it. And at some point, it might actually become natural for you to do it, and you will be the first to say that this is the best way to do something. So this is why learning with the body and learning with the mind is very different. So when you learn with your body, you have a whole set of experiences, of senses, emotions that come into account, which doesn't happen when you learn with your mind. And also learning with the body. They say in Japan, "Karada de oboeru." It's really learning with your body instead of simply understanding. And when you learn with the body, it's very hard to forget it. Whereas when you learn something intellectually, you could be, I know for sure, you can forget hours later, you know. But it's like riding a bicycle. When you learn it with the body, even if I explain the bicycle to you for hours, you won't know how to ride it. But once you've learned it while riding a bicycle, then you never forget. And so I think the idea of kata is very interesting for this, because instead of trying to convince somebody of practicing, of adopting managerial or work practices, you get them to fake it at some point, or to just do it basically without asking questions, or maybe without agreeing, but they get to assimilate and do it naturally. The important part in this is to never forget the goal, so what we're aiming for and where we're going with this. If they get to assimilate continuous improvement practices in their daily routines, then they can reach the goal without making any specific effort. It becomes natural for them. So when I discovered what Mike Rother is doing with kata, my first reaction, and it was just a feeling I had, it was, wow, he's taking the artisan back to work. He's bringing back the craftsman into humans at work, and I was pleased with the feeling that gave me. And I don't know how companies, the corporate cultures, will react to this, how they will resist to bringing back somebody with an organic know-how, an organic way of proceeding with work and accumulating true valuable knowledge in their work. I think it's a good thing for society and for companies as well. I think it makes people that work better and more efficiently and give more result. But I was very pleased to see this.